You can hear some stuff. I hear stuff. I can hear it. It's just all it is you can hear them, so I can't tell if it's actually. Okay, it is working. I hear myself. Not very good audio though. Over here, it sounds, not that it's bad, it's just, you hear it? That's a bit,
2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Testing 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Test. Test.
She's on. Yeah, check 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey. Nope. I can, but I need to go do another setup right now. But that's the next second bucket. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, yeah. Yes, definitely. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Seven, 8, ha. Everybody awake? Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Five, 6, 7, 8, ha. Oh, ha. Here we go.
I'll ask you to please quiet down. I'm not going to offer the official welcome because that's coming, but I do have a few housekeeping items to talk to you about. So we apologize for the delay of starting this morning. We didn't have any microphones ready on time, so we've got those in place now, so that's good. With regards to washrooms, there are two entrances to this auditorium, one to my left, one to my right, the yellow doors. So outside the yellow doors, the girls are on my right, the boys are on my left, okay? So if you need to use a washroom, they're just right outside these doors. We would ask that if you have any headphones, that you take them off and out of your ears. If you have a cell phone or any other electronic device, that you turn it off for the entire opening session, please. Do most students have a ring on their finger? Can I see them? Okay. Has anyone tied it so tight that they've lost circulation in their hand? Okay. If you have done that, we have scissors in the lobby to cut it off, and we have spare colors so you can put the color back on. Okay? Adults do it too, so we suspected some of our 400 students might do that. I don't want you to panic. All the students have an agenda in front of them, their teachers gave them. It doesn't say the room number, and that's okay. It does say what color you need to go to, and we're going to have volunteers at the end of this opening session come in with big colored bristle boards, and we're going to be following them out. So just a heads up, at the end of the opening ceremony, okay, this is the yellow room with the yellow doors. So if you're staying here for the yellow session in the morning, it's this room that you stay here in, and there'll be a student holding a yellow sign. We'll just stand here, so you know not to leave. Just stay here, she's here, you stay here. For those of you who are going to a morning workshop that is black, white, or red, you'll see that the volunteers with those bristle boards, we're all headed to the same building, and you'll stay there for most of the rest of the day, okay? So everyone's gonna head out. All of the other conference rooms for workshops are on the same floor. They're identified by color. There's no way that you'll get lost, okay? So just follow the volunteers with their colors and you'll be fine. We do have a number of volunteers, adults and students here today. If you do have any pressing questions, just find us. We all have a yellow name tag on, okay? All right. I want to point out to you, just before we get started, after your first morning workshop, we're having a lunch and learn activity, okay? So we'll all go into one big hall. There's pizza for everyone and juice. But at the same time that you get to eat, you can participate in a cultural exchange. We have 2 throat singers, we have 2 dancers, a hand drummer, who are going to be in one side of the hall, waiting to talk to you, answer questions, and to give you examples of their performances. So you're welcome to do that during the lunch and learn. We also have a session of mingling with the leaders at the same time. We're going to have a number of our CMP officers here. We have Grandmother Dorothy here. You're welcome to speak to them during lunch. They're there to talk with you, answer questions. And there is a resource fair. So a number of organizations are set up in our lunch hall, and you can go around to the tables, ask questions, get information. Okay? So don't be shy during the lunchtime. If you do want to sit and rest, that's fine. Find a section with friends and sit down. But for those of you who want to continue the learning experience, you're welcome to do that. I think that's it for my housekeeping items. We're about to start the opening ceremony. It is a solemn affair. So we have a young drummer and singer who's going to walk in, our very special guests. We'll ask her to pay attention and be respectful. And we'll let the day begin. thank you to Thielen Kiknoswing for singing and drumming in the special guest this morning. We'll now hear from Grandmother Dorothy.
Yes, please. Buen bonjour, kwe kwe, ani, sego, hi hi, danse, machea. Bonjour, bienvenido. Gari Yejman opposite Dashna cause Mikisito Dem, Mijon Mederian. Jimmy Bechonje no home Vijik. Jimmy Bechonje Mishonless Jesus. Mibechonje no Kumistik Eases. Jimmy Bech Gemino Onje Nerwag, Mishonsa, it's Kokmistak, Rodonja Bawag, Wagano, Shawanon. Gibeshon et Kiwegno. Jimmy Gretch Ijemelon Onje Nebi. Jimmy Gretch Onje Neowag Nishkiki Minigomen Onje Jakin Onje and Shaman Minom Batsin. Jimmy Gretch Onje Abanon Jishon. Jimmy Gretch Onje Kapina Iquera which is Inwak. Jimmy Rich Onje Kakina Kikanan Manan Eshkinigijik Moundo Sigonde Nongum Jimmy Rich. Hello and welcome everyone to Omama Nui Anishinaabe a territory, also known as Algonquin territory. I would like to say a prayer, not a short one. Thank you, Creator, for this beautiful day. Thank you for the old. Thank you for grandfather's son who warms us, keeps us warm on earth. Jimmy Jonze, sorry. Thank you for grandmother Moon who takes care of the water on earth and takes care of the water in us. Thank you, Creator, for the four grandmothers and grandfathers and the four directions who help us when we have a group such as this, so they come in and help us and give us a good mind and a good heart. Thank you for all the children, the men and the women, and especially youth gathered here today. Thank you. There's good work ahead. We wish.
I'll now ask Michaela and Cameron to come up.
So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 4th Annual National Day of Remembrance and Action on Mass Atrocities and Irano Youth Conference. My name is Cameron, this is Michaela Goulet, and we are the student conference managers for today's event. I think I speak for all of us when I say that it is a pleasure to stand here knowing how hard everyone has worked to make this conference possible. Today is the result of some really remarkable cooperation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities in the name of reconciliation. We'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the support of Carleton University's Faculty of Public Affairs, the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board, the All-Party Parliamentary Group for the Prevention of Genocide, and our speakers and facilitators.
The theme of this year's conference is reconciliation. Although Canadians like to pride ourselves in our openness, our equality, to the extent of considering ourselves role models, there is a hypocrisy at home that is too great to ignore. Indigenous peoples have an opportunity for you to learn. We hope that you take your new knowledge back to your school, your friends, your family, so that we can emerge from this day of remembrance in the best way possible, as a more understanding community.
In order to help with and cooperate with struggling communities like Attawapskat, a community that is declared a state of emergency due to youth suicide, it is essential that we do exactly what we're doing here today, which is listening and learning. We can only respond so well as we're informed. Canadian youth, Canada's future, have a massive role to play in the reconciliation between our communities. It is our job, our responsibility to ensure that the future holds a Canada that believes in dignity and respect for our Indigenous peoples. Today, we lay the foundation for our future.
And now, we'll be hearing from Mr. Norm King, who originally approached his local MP with the idea of creating a National Day of Awareness for mass atrocities occurring around the globe. In 2010, a private member's motion was passed in the House of Commons with unanimous support that created this National Day of Remembrance and Action on Mass Atrocities. Since then, he's been organizing conferences on the subject, and in 2012, local teacher Trisha Leduc has joined him to create this youth conference for the past 4 years.
Without further ado, it is our pleasure to introduce the man who has made this day possible. The man who saw not only the tragic possibilities of humanity, but a potential for growth and empowerment. I present to you Mr. Norm King.
My apologies, I goofed up. Mr. Norm King will come up in a moment, but I got the order wrong in my presenters. So I'm just going to ask you to welcome Mr. André Plot. He'll give a welcome from the university, and then we will hear from Mr. Norm King. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'd like to express my gratitude to grandmother Dorothy Maness and to Thalen Kiknosway for their introduction. Their contribution is fitting as we acknowledge that the Carleton University campus sits on the traditional unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation. In the past, we at Carleton did not acknowledge that. In fact, many didn't even realize it. But that's something that we're intent on changing. As with this National Day of Remembrance and Action, we at Carleton are dedicated to improving public knowledge and understanding of Canada's Indigenous peoples with the help of Indigenous leaders. This is why we are so proud to be hosting this event. Welcome. This event truly reflects our values within the Faculty of Public Affairs: to build better societies and better democracy, to foster informed citizenship, to address regional and global challenges. We're always looking for students who want to make a difference in the world. You can learn more about our programs of study at our display table during the Lunch and Learn session later today. Please drop by. I hope that you have an enjoyable and productive day with us here at Carleton. Thank you all for coming.
And now, Mr. Norm King.
Okay, good morning to you all. I'm a little nervous, so if y'all wouldn't mind turning around looking the other way, I would very much appreciate it. I have a serious request, and I mean this. I would like to ask all the teachers to close their eyes. And I mean this. Please do so. Okay. Are all of your eyes closed? Good. Now, I have a question to you guys. how many of you are here because you think it's a way to blow off school for a morning? Be honest. That's why I asked them to close their eyes so there will be no repercussions. Raise your hands. Hi. I saw you. Back up. Okay. The good news is that there aren't too many. For those of you who have that opinion, and for the rest of you, I have to say that those students are in for a big surprise. Because based on what has happened in the past with these events, every one of you, and I mean every single one of you, will walk out of here a changed person. You will walk out of here with a greater appreciation of what it means to be an activist. You will walk out of here with a greater appreciation of some of the wrongs that have been done to the Native community in the past. When we talk about genocide and mass atrocities, we generally think of them in places far away, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa. Well, they've been happening here too, to the Native communities of the various parts of this country. We've had cultural genocide, we've had atrocities, we have Native communities where people live in third world conditions in one of the richest countries in the world. And it is completely unacceptable. It should not happen here, it should not happen anywhere. You're going to learn more about this today. And the reason that I'm here is because, as was said in the introduction, I was the person who worked with my member of parliament to get the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Mass Atrocities passed in the House of Commons. I'm no different than any of you, except a lot older. But I had an idea. I'm a regular guy and I live at home and with my wife and my cat and just a regular person, but I had an idea and I had the determination to see it through. Because whatever you do in your lives, whether it's in this activity of striving to prevent genocide and end mass atrocities anywhere in the world, including this country, you have to be determined, you can't take no for an answer, and you have to believe in what you're doing. And there is no more important endeavor in the world than to make sure that we are all safe, that we are all healthy, and that we all have a positive outlook on life and have a chance to look forward to a good life with loved ones and being able to contribute to the community. And that is why you are here today, and I guarantee you that you will all be changed. Having said that, without further ado, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker for this morning, and I would like to thank him. His name is Mr. Dwight Dory. First of all, I'd like to thank him. He's pinch hitting because our original speaker was not able to make it due to a family emergency. And Mr. Dory is a Micmac from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia, and he holds a master's degree in Canadian Studies from Carleton University, this august institution, as a matter of fact. He is widely recognized as an outstanding negotiator, communicator, and visionary. Through a 30-year career, he has made major strides forward for Canada's Aboriginal peoples in furthering human rights, treaty rights, business rights, educational, and employment opportunities. Mr. Dory served on his First Nation Band Council in Millbrook, and in September 2015 was re-elected as National Chief of the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples for a fourth term, having previously held 3 consecutive terms from 2000 to 2006, and serving as Vice Chief from 1984 to 86, and again from 2011 to 2012. He served as Senior Policy Advisor to the CAP before he was elected to his first term as National Chief. He served as the elected Chief and President of the Native Council of Nova Scotia from 1989 to 1987. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you all Mr. Dory.
for a moment here. I don't have enough pockets. Elder, Dean, special guests, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is a beautiful spring morning here. We're going to see lots of green after all this rain. I want to first acknowledge the Algonquin people's traditional territory that we stand on here today, and I especially enjoy being back here, as was indicated in the introduction. I'm a former student of Carleton and a graduate of this institution, and don't have a occasion to get back here that often. I noted on this National Day of Remembrance and Action, the wonderful, large group of wonderful-looking young people here, and I'm so delighted that I have been given the opportunity to speak to you on this special day of recognition. I also noted that previous speakers at this conference have included Senator Romeo Dallaire, Rwanda genocide survivor Marie-Claire Waihogodora, and I would like to say that I am honored to have been chosen to be part of this of such distinguished company. I am the National Chief of the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples, second time around. You might say recycled. I sometimes think I'd like to go back to my youth, like you, and then I remember algebra. I would like to speak to you this morning about the Indigenous peoples and human rights in Canada, in addition to the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples and our work concerning reconciliation for Indigenous peoples. Throughout my life, I have been involved in advocating for the rights of Indigenous peoples, and I intend to continue to do so for many years to come. As I mentioned, I was a graduate here in the Canadian Studies class at the master's level, in the class of 93, and I'm still wearing my ring. But I had a heck of a job putting it on this morning, I'll tell you. It might be there for a lot of more years. The Congress of Aboriginal Peoples is one of 5 national Indigenous organizations here in this country that is recognized by the Government of Canada and the provincial governments as well, including international community. And we have occasion to make representations quite often at the United Nations level. For over 40 years, since 1971, the Congress, which was formerly called the Native Council of Canada, as a national Indigenous organization, has represented the interest of Métis, off-reserve status, non-status, and Inuit people in southern Labrador, in rural, urban, and remote areas of the country. We represent over 70% of the Indigenous population across the country. My national board, who I report to and I take direction from, is comprised of myself, my vice chief, and representatives or leaders from each of our provincial and territorial affiliates, and also it includes a national youth representative who is elected by youth delegates from across the country and has full voting rights on our national board. Recently we have been rebranding, as they say in business terms, changing our name, which is becoming, or will soon be more commonly known as the Indigenous Peoples Assembly of Canada, because we found the term Indigenous to be more inclusive, and it resonates with today's international standards, is our belief. We are currently in the process of, as I said, doing some of the legal things that are engaged with changing a name of an organization. The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples is the most comprehensive international human rights document which addresses Indigenous populations, their economic situation, cultural, social, and political rights, as which outlines the minimum standards for the dignity, survival, and the well-being of Indigenous peoples. Governments must use the Declaration in combination with the consultation of Indigenous peoples as a basis for reviewing and reforming laws and politics or policies to ensure that all Indigenous peoples' rights are upheld without discrimination. With this in mind, I would like to quote from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada report, Calls to Action. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was constituted and created by the Indian Residential Schools Settlement Agreement, which settled a class action. The Commission spent 6 years traveling to all parts of Canada to hear from the Aboriginal people who had been taken from their families as children, forcibly if necessary, and placed for much of their childhood in residential schools, far away from home. Justice Murray Sinclair, who is now Senator, stated, "Getting to the truth was hard, but getting to reconciliation will be harder. It requires that the paternalistic and racist foundations of the residential school system be rejected as the basis for an ongoing relationship. Reconciliation requires that a new vision based on a commitment to mutual respect be developed. Reconciliation is not an Aboriginal problem, it is a Canadian one. Virtually all aspects of Canadian society may need to be reconsidered. The Truth and Reconciliation report lists a total of 94 recommendations. Of those 94 recommendations, number 43 and 44 deserve special mention. Recommendation number 43. We call upon federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal governments to fully adopt and implement the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples as the framework for reconciliation. And article number 44. We call upon the Government of Canada to develop a national action plan, strategies, and other concrete measures to achieve the goals of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. These calls to action bear a direct relation to a long and hard-fought case which the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples began 17 years ago and has just seen it through a victorious outcome only last week at the Supreme Court of Canada. It is referred to as the Daniels case, which represents a lifetime of work by the late Harry Daniels and many others in the search for social justice for Métis and non-status Indigenous peoples of Canada. Harry was a personal friend of mine. He and I filed the case before the federal court in 1999. In short, the Daniels case is about obtaining a once and for all declaration that Métis and non-status Indians be recognized as Indians under Section 9124 of the Constitution Act of Canada, 1982, and as such are owed a fiduciary duty and have a right to be consulted and negotiated with, as First Nations have been for years. On April 14th, the Supreme Court of Canada rendered its decision in our favor to protect our rights as Indigenous peoples. The Supreme Court holds that both Métis and non-status Indians are within the scope of federal jurisdiction over Indians under Section 9124 of the Constitution Act, and we are no longer second-class Aboriginal people. The Daniels case is about fairness and it's about equality. It's about addressing many social issues for the Métis and non-status Indians, much of which stem from the residential school era. There was a lot of Métis people, of non-status people, but Aboriginal, Indigenous as well, whose families were torn apart from the residential school process as well. We are involved and have been involved as a national representative organization on numerous Supreme Court of Canada cases and decisions affecting the people and the lives of our families. From the beginning, the Congress of Aboriginal People has joined with other 4 national Aboriginal organizations in the call for an inquiry into the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. And we are part of that process that is being undertaken now by this government. Right now, we are also at work on a project which will focus on engaging men and boys as leaders in raising the awareness of and in preventing violence against Indigenous women in this country. Since November, I've been undertaking a 3rd national grassroots tour across the country. I just roughly calculated since November I've flown about 55,000 kilometers visiting people across Canada. This tour is still continuing on, and it is so that I, as a national leader, can better understand what the issues are concerning and facing off-reserve Indigenous people in this country. And I want to tell you, one of the items at the top of the list that I'm hearing is discrimination. Discrimination, discrimination. This has to stop. In closing, I'd like to say to you, as future leaders, think ahead. It is part of our culture and custom to look ahead 7 generations. Do your part in making the world a better place for those who will follow behind you. Malala, merci, thank you very much. I will take questions now, if there are some. Oh, come on, you don't have it all figured out already, do you? I thought I was, well, when I was, I told you that I was a graduate here, it took me 9 years. Mind you, that was just part-time though. Yes, you have a question? Better at the mic for the recording, but, yeah.
So you said that we should stop discriminating against each other, so how do you think we should do that? Like how do you think we should stop discrimination?
Well, be informed for one thing, and that's part of this. And I'm so glad to hear that this is a national, basically it's a national awareness day of the genocide and the atrocities that are going on around the world, but also some of it right here in our own backyard. So, you know, be aware of it and talk about it and talk about it in a way that this isn't right, this needs to change. We're talking about human beings, human lives, and they shouldn't have to go through this.
On the topic of discrimination, do you think the term Indian status is like discriminatory by the government? That they should change it to maybe another term?
Well, that's a debate that's been going on for quite some time. I don't know about the term being discriminatory, but the Indian Act, without a question, is, and it has always been, and you know, unfortunately, there has been many occasions where even First Nations chiefs have called for the dismantling or the termination of the Indian Act, but it just doesn't happen. So, you know, but there's, you know, when someone, given that recognition, the registrar of the Department of Indian Affairs is one person, or has been, makes the decision, an arbitrary decision of someone who can have status and recognition and someone can't, it's not right.
Thank you.
How are you supporting the 60 Scoop survivors from the intergenerational effects?
Well, that's a broad approach that we are engaged in as well as a national organization. It's something that we've been, like I say, doing our best to make awareness, you know, let people know about it, and we're advocating that, you know, something has to change very quickly.
In your personal experience, how do you feel like the public outlook on Aboriginal issues in general has changed over the years? Do you think it's changed for the better, or do you think?
Well, that's a very good question. You know, actually, you know, I've been in this business, the politics of it, for about 35 years now, and it's often said we sometimes take one step forward and we take 2 steps back. There are areas, obviously, where we have been making gains. In fact, you know, just my reference to rights within the Constitution, which we have, you know, obviously that was a positive gain. But at the same time, when you hear about issues going on, particularly in northern and remote areas like Atawapaskap and others, and that's not the only community. There are many others across the country that are living in third world conditions. So in many areas, we're not going ahead. We're not moving at all. So it varies.
Thank you.
You can tell I'm not a student, but still a lifelong learner. I would like to ask all the teachers in the room and any adult who wants to join me to petition for a law that demands that all students in Canada must learn about residential schools. Since I have learned about residential schools, I made the resolve that no student will leave my classroom without learning it. And I'm not saying I'm any kind of hero for that. I just think if people don't know, as you're saying, they can't do anything. And every student here must have some idea, because this is why they came. You and I know that education is usually provincial, but there are also our federations. There was a Canadian Teachers Federation. There are also provincial federations of teachers. And so I'm saying that, or I'm asking, is there anyone in the room who wants to join me in making this a demand that you cannot leave the Canadian school without knowing this information?
Very good point. It is part of the history of this country.
What made you realize that this was an issue that you personally wanted to change?
Pardon me?
What made you realize that mass atrocities on the Indigenous peoples was an issue that you personally wanted to change?
Because I see so much of it, and as I mentioned in my introduction, that I've attended quite a few sessions of the United Nations. In fact, I was part of the drafting, a 2-week drafting session of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples in Geneva quite a number of years ago. This was 15 years going through the United Nations process. I had during those years had opportunities to talk to other people, particularly from the third world countries. I've visited many of them, and so I know what is happening. And it is, this day and age, it is not right. It's like, if I might say, quoting Prime Minister Trudeau, when he was asked why half of his cabinet are women, and his answer was, because it's 2016. Well, I say because it's 2016, these atrocities must end.
Hi there. I had a question about, excuse my pronunciation, about Laurier. Is that how you say it?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. The volume can be turned up, or could you get a little closer to the mic?
I had a question about the Ottawa Pisgat.
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it? The
That's
crisis
close.
there. Yeah, sorry.
I had trouble with it.
Yeah, I've read that the government's sending around $2 million in resources to there. Do you believe that that's enough to help with the crisis? And as well as that, I've noticed there's not actually a lot of media coverage prior to all of the public standings and the protesters taking over like ambassadors' halls and stuff like that. Do you think there should be more media covering that to kind of rally support, or what's your view on how we should handle these situations?
Well, that's good. Well, first of all, $2 million is not near enough. Not only it's not near enough just for that one community, and as I mentioned, there are a lot of other communities that are having the same issues, the same problems. There was just recently communities in Winnipeg or in Manitoba and Alberta and in Ontario where there's far too many suicides that are happening. It's not just young people; it's elderly people as well. So this has to change. $2 million isn't going to do it, but it's a start. And unfortunately, it has taken a crisis situation in order for the government to move on it. So as far as the media goes, I think it's wonderful. It's great that the media is out there covering these kinds of issues, because it's time not only for Canadians to learn about this, but other parts of the world. People often think, and it was mentioned, that Canada is one of the best countries in the world to live in. Well, it doesn't mean we don't have our dark spots and our bad places, and you can't hide from that. It's not a perfect country, and it's not a perfect world. We have our own problems in our own backyards that we need to be fixing before we start trying to fix other people's in other parts of the country.
I had a second question regarding media as well. Do you think there should be some sort of organization that actually exposes these sorts of atrocities that happen? Because I personally, just as a student, before I purposely went out of my way to read about it, I never really heard of much. Do you think we should create an organization that makes that a priority to make sure the public is informed about these sort of things?
Well, just on that answer, we have the Aboriginal People's Television Network. I was one of the people that was involved in getting that network going and get it supported by the CRTC. I think the Aboriginal Peoples Network is doing a great job in covering our issues across the country. The thing that I would suggest is more people need to be watching APTN as opposed to the other networks. Okay?
Hi, good morning. My question was, how do you feel about the sentiments expressed by former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien with regards to the people of the community of Attawapiskat? I believe he said something to the extent, or to summarize, he said that there's just not enough economic activity to, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he basically expressed that, there's no economic opportunities in the area. How do you feel about that? And he sort of alluded that they just need to move out of the area, move where the economic opportunities are. How do you feel about that sort of statement?
Well, first of all, there is not enough economic opportunity, and that's one of the issues that I've been engaged in for years. One of my books is about economic development for Aboriginal communities. So I've been an advocate for more economic opportunity, more business partnering, and that sort of thing. As far as any relocation of communities or even resolving these issues, it is my firm belief that the community has to be involved. Everybody in the community. It's not just about a chief and council trying to make these decisions. They have to bring the community together. Everybody, the parents, the children. I'm not talking about little babies, but everybody needs to be involved in coming up with a solution and determining what the best solution is on a community by community basis. This is not something that you can just, as a government, decide, oh, we're going to do this and it's going to be good for everyone. It doesn't work that way.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's no, or if there's not enough industry, I guess, to sustain prosperous economic activity, do you think that citizens or community members should take it upon themselves to maybe relocate, and do you think that that could alleviate some of the issues there?
Well, what I'm saying, if that's what the community feels is in their best interest, then yes. But you have to take into all other considerations. There's cultural connections that our people have to the land, to where they were born and raised, and where the traditional territory is, and some people just don't want to leave there. So in that case, then you have to look at new ways to create more opportunity for these people. On the other hand, it's well known that so many of young First Nations people in particular are moving away from their home communities, and they're moving to the urban areas looking for better opportunity. And if that trend continues, there's soon a lot of these communities are just going to die out anyway. So.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
So I just want to talk about two questions. One, talk about Daniel's case. You said where last week over 600,000 Métis non-status Indians got the status as Indians. From a historical standpoint, how important is it for them to receive that status as Indians?
It's extremely important. As I said, the Congress has been in business for 45 years, and I've been there almost that long. So these are the kinds of issues that we've been fighting for. The Daniels case was about recognition, and that's so important. It's about recognition. Is about people's identity. I was a non-status Indian for a good part of my life. I only gained status through an amendment to the Indian Act in 1985. When you just think of the term non-status, and I tell a lot of people, non-status is nothing. I mean, if you don't have status, and it's such a negative term in the first place to put on people. So there's, over 200,000 people who have that label, a term, non-status. So it's about feeling, about who you are, your identity. For Métis people, it's the same thing. They were feeling like they were second or third class Indigenous people, below whatever recognition is given to First Nations or Inuit. So first of all, that's the big thing. It's having pride in who you are and having that recognized that you are equal. And so what goes with that then is also when you look at the overall social economic conditions of our people in this country, which is far below the average, the normal, non-indigenous population of the country, then we need to bring that up. The term used is close the gap, narrow the gap. So that's all part of it too. Getting that recognition where in the past there were so many programs and services, initiatives by the Department of Indian Affairs, resources going out to First Nations communities or to First Nations business people, creating better education, better business opportunities, that they were not including maybe non-status Indians. So there will be better opportunities.
Great. And my second question, talking about there's like Adawapscat and Cross Lake. What can we do as a community to try and help in any way we can? Because I know through my school, what I'm discussing with my world history teacher is I wanted to start getting students to write letters to these reserves. And so far it's just starting within my class, but we're trying to expand it throughout the school. And so we're also donating old sports equipment or old instruments if you have any. But I just want to know what else can we do to help these communities?
Well, one of the things you can do in acknowledgement of this day is write letters to the Prime Minister, write letters to the ministers, write letters to your member of Parliament, to your provincial government. This is how you can do it. Get a petition going. And, there's 4, 5, 6, 700 of you taking this session in today. Get your name signed onto a petition. Say, this has got to stop. This is going to change, and that will help. It will go a long way.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I've heard of Shannon Stream and Adawapscat, but I also wanted to know if there's any other communities that might need our help that we should touch on.
Yes, there are. I mentioned that, and I'm at that age. I don't remember everything very well, but so I don't remember the names of the communities. But there have been some very recently in Saskatchewan, once Surrey, British Columbia, Manitoba, and these are communities that have had numerous suicides or suicide attempts in the last year or so. They were just kind of being ignored until Adawapscat happened. So there are a lot of other communities that need help. Yes.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So I recently got status in 2011. I'm from Newfoundland, and last I heard, I'm still in the position where my status may be taken away from me by the government. And I was wondering how you think that the Daniels case will affect me and other Mi'kmaq in my position.
Well, I'm hoping it's going to help you in that regard. In fact, the new chief of the Haliku First Nation, Brendan Mitchell, is on my national board, and we were talking about that yesterday. I'm there to do what I can to support the people in Newfoundland on that matter. So time will tell. That's all I can say. There is a process in place.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just wondering, you and the previous speaker mentioned third world conditions in reserves, and I thought maybe you could walk us through some of them. What would we see differently walking to a reserve, for example?
Well, so I didn't get that last part.
Just walk us through some of the third world conditions that we can see in reserves.
There's things like overcrowded housing, poor housing. I mean, a lot of the houses have, they're unhealthy. There's mold. The heating isn't adequate in the wintertime. Water, there's, I think, last I heard, about 163 communities that have a boil water order. And this isn't just something temporary. Some of these communities have had to boil their water for a year or more. So there's so many of these kinds of things that are going on. There's little, if anything, in some of these communities for young people to do. One of the suggestions or things that are coming out of the Adawapscat issue, and it's the people there in the community themselves when they're asked, well, what do you need to change this? And they're saying, well, we need, a better, safer school. We need a library. We need a recreation facility. There's so many just basic things that the rest of us take for granted in our communities, and these people don't even have it. So, but again, I say, this is where the communities come involved, and every community is different. I'm not in a position to say what every community is going to need, but overall, we need to be listening to these communities closer and really doing something to help them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi,
Hello.
you mentioned something about suicides, and I was wondering why suicide can happen.
Oh boy, that's a hard question for me. The people, I guess, are just feeling so much despair that they don't know where to turn. That nobody's listening. That I really can't. It's hard to answer a question like that. Probably every individual is a little different story.
Hi. I was just wondering, on the subject of like the huge disparities in terms of government funding for people on reserve and people off reserve, what would you say to people who believe that almost on reserve, that like if we close the disparity gap, or the funding gap, that won't really help the issues because almost on reserve stem from the corruption of chiefs? Yes, just want to know what you have to say to that.
Well, again, it's one of those things that you almost have to take it community by community, because I know, and many people probably are aware that there are some First Nations reserve communities that are doing exceptionally well. In my province, Nova Scotia, one of them is the member to First Nation in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Sydney, Nova Scotia is not a very really good economic area of the country, but yet the reserve there is doing exceptionally well. They can virtually employ every single member of their band who wants to work. So there's an example of one that's doing good. I say in those situations there are others that, what was often talked about in the ministerial level is that let's go for or take best practices. So where we see communities succeed, go in and look and find out what they're doing that's making them succeed and try and duplicate that in other areas.
Thank you.
One final question, Chief Laurier. The theme for the day is Youth Engaging in Reconciliation. Thinking of what the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada has established, can you talk to us about what reconciliation means to you and what it would look like to you in this country?
Well, first of all, it means, number one, that all Canadians, as was stated here, it's not just an Indigenous problem or First Nations problem, it's a Canadian problem. So the first thing is that all Canadians need to be made aware of this. Take time and take the interest in what's going on in your own community or in your own backyard with your neighbors. We're all in this together here. And it's about being better informed as to what is happening or even what is not happening. So when you hear about these kinds of situations that are going on, and in particular this real sad situation of these suicides and planned, when you get, it's hard to imagine here in our country that 10, 12, and 14 young people are coming together and making a group decision that they're all going to die. For what? For why? It's time for us to really take an interest in that, because that's not normal. That's not right. And so there's so much to be done, but it's all about the learning, understanding what's going on, and then extending your hand to help. And like this idea of a petition to the government to do something about this. This is not acceptable. That's the message that's got to get out there. That's why we have these kinds of awareness days. It's for people to totally understand and not just say, oh yeah, that's another day to or what is it here that somebody said, well, those who closed their, or had their eyes closed, but anyway, so the teachers, there were some other reasons for people to be here, but take an interest, that's all I can say, and that's, you take an interest and you start talking to people, and people who can make a difference and make a change, then things will come, things will change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Laurier, for coming in today and speaking with our students and teachers. We really appreciate having you with us today. Definitely we've heard messages that are very important for us to keep in mind as we move forward as a community here in Ottawa, as a nation. So we really appreciate the fact that you came in and took all these questions. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
At this point, we'll sit tight for a moment. I'd like to give the opportunity to our special guests who need to move out towards workshop rooms and make their way out of the auditorium to do so. Students and teachers will remain here for a moment. If you would kindly pull out your schedule for the day, the agenda. I'll just go over a couple of things with you so that we're organized. All right, students and teachers, if I could have everyone's attention. Thank you very much. In a moment, you're going to have a chance to stretch your legs. Many of you are going to be moving into a different building. So let's talk about those details so that we do this in as organized a way as possible. So if you have your agenda in front of you, you'll notice that from 11 to 12, we have 4 different workshops going on simultaneously. So this group of about 400 students and teachers, we're going to be dividing you into about 4, depending on the size of the room that you're going into. So I just want to read through with you what the 4 sessions are, and then we'll talk about moving you towards that session, okay? The yellow session. Those of you who've been told by your teachers you're staying here for the yellow session in the morning or you have your yellow ring on. The yellow session is led by Meredith Porter, an Indigenous lawyer. She'll be talking about the intergenerational impact of Indian residential schools. If you're going to the red session, you'll be meeting Katie Quinn, Gabrielle Fayant, Elaine and Thielen Kiknosway. They're going to be presenting the Kairos blanket exercise. If you're moving into the black workshop, Colleen and Sage Cardinal will be talking about the impacts of historical colonial violence and child welfare policies, including the 60s scoop. And if you're going into the white session, you'll be joining Mika, who is going to be presenting on Inuit perspectives on the relationship with government. So I have volunteers who are going to come join me at the front here. My 4 volunteers with their colors, please join me. Once the workshop is over, okay? So from 11 to 12, you'll be going into a workshop. Once that workshop is over, everybody, including those of you who stayed in this auditorium, we're all meeting in the Residence Commons building in the Fen Lounge. That's our large hall where we're serving you pizza and juice, and you have a chance to join in some cultural exchange, mingling with leaders, resource fair. Okay? So know that at the end of this first session, those of you who stayed here yellow, you'll be headed to the building that everybody else is already in. Okay? So, I have volunteers from Colonel By with me today. It's a pretty simple process. You're all going to a different room with a different color. These volunteers are leading. All those of you who are going to the white workshop, the black workshop, the red workshop, you're all going to the same building, and you're all going to the second floor, and all your rooms are close together. So all you have to do is get to that building, and then look for the colors on the door for your session. These volunteers here will be helping you with that. So let's be clear. Yellow, you're staying here. Black, red, white. Follow your leaders. They'll meet you just outside the main doors, and you'll head off as a large group. Don't get lost. Miss Ryder's class from Colonel By, don't forget, everyone's staying for the yellow session this morning. We'll give some time for everybody who's heading out to move over. Sessions start at 11 a.m. sharp. Be sure to be in your room then. Once the room clears, I will ask that everyone who's staying as a yellow session come down to this first level so that your presenter is closer to you. Okay? So we'll let the room clear, then I'll get all the yellows down here. Folks, just in case you brought your Axe spray or any other perfume or smelling good items, there are people at the conference who are very sensitive to scent and that it can cause migraines for. So if you were thinking at lunch you might reapply extra good smells, please don't. Okay? You smell fine. All right, so as the room clears, all those of you who are part of the yellow session this morning with Meredith Porter, I want you to come down into the sides, into the middle here, to the front, so that you're close to your presenter, okay?